Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And thankfully, we don't really have a lot to talk about. We've got Tropical Storm Lorenzo out here into the middle of the tropical Atlantic that will be bothering absolutely nothing but the fish. Very rare do I ever say a fish storm, and this one certainly looks like it has the candidacy for that. We also have our coastal low here along the northeast. Uh, Starting to see things wind down a little bit. We still got some good winds. We've still got, some flooding issues ongoing, but it's not as bad as what it had been earlier today. So, and especially yesterday and the day before, I mean, it's just been a terrible situation. We still have flash flood watches out here, a couple warnings. I know of a flash flood emergency in the southwestern United States. That was associated with the moisture from tropical storms Priscilla and Raymond. So, as we continue to go forward, folks out here in the desert southwest need to just monitor your local National Weather Service office and heed any watches or warnings that are issued to you by those folks. Now, we also have, I know a lot of people are starting to talk about it, another wave that has emerged off the African coast. But as we could see here on the outlook, we do not have anything other than Lorenzo. So we do not have anything associated with this secondary wave from the National Hurricane Center. We will go over the models and take a look at it. Though I will say this, compared to this time yesterday, the models have backed off quite a bit, and it is at least encouraging. Still going to keep an eye on it, but it doesn't look anything remotely close to what it did yesterday. So, taking a quick look at our overall Earth null situation, we have our coastal low here along the southeastern United States. We also have this thing is Lorenzo out here. It really doesn't show up too well on the on Earth Null's depiction. But one thing that we could here show is at about the 700 millibar level, which is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. You will see that that's right about where our wave is, right in this region right here. A little offset. Not necessarily too vertically aligned, and you really wouldn't expect anything to be vertically aligned this early in its life cycle if it were to develop into anything. So, our coastal low, as you could see, we don't have any more of our major flood stages. We currently have one major flood observation here at Barnegat Bay at Wartown. But this is not, we do not have any more major forecast. So it's at least starting to wind down, albeit slowly, but not as bad as what we had seen previously. If we look at some of the rainfall, this is over the last 5 days, folks. This is from the National Weather Service Office. And there have been some places that have just been stomped with rain. Here into portions of South Carolina, especially in and around the Georgetown area, and then down here in near Merritt Island, along the Space Coast of Florida. A few places have picked up some considerable amounts of rain, and in some places a heck of a lot more than what people were initially prepared for. If we look at the National Weather Service Office main page, one thing that I do want to show is that we still have some flood advisories out here, and please exercise caution. The event is almost over with. But if we look out here and here as well, We have our flash flood watches. There are a couple flash flood warnings that are currently in effect out here into parts of Arizona. Please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways, and you just stay safe. Don't be out traveling if you do not have to. If we look at from the Weather Prediction Center, Arizona has been issued with a mesoscale precipitation discussion. This was issued a few hours ago, and it says here areas of heaviest rainfall potential over the next 6 hours, localized to 2 to 3 inches possible in this area of kind of like this little peanut shaped brown spot, with the area located here in purple for southeastern portions of Arizona and southwestern and west central portions of New Mexico. We have the opportunity to see some flash flooding. So please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways. I promise this will eventually move out. I hope that everyone remains safe. All right. And just I was looking at the overall radar here, just a quick snapshot from Cyclonic WX. We could see our coastal low up here into the northeast. There is still some remnant shower and thunderstorm. Doesn't look to be the considerable amounts that we have seen previously, but this still could lead to isolated areas of flash flooding, especially in urban corridors. Looking out here into the southwest U.S., Mexico and Arizona, with this large area of tropical moisture right here. And yes, California is getting hit by a very powerful, I guess you would call it just a regular low pressure cold core system coming in off of the Pacific. But the weather is quite unstable out here into the west and to the east, and except for us down here along the northern Gulf Coast and down here into Florida and a little part of the Midwest, everybody else is pretty much dealing with something right now. We've been lucky, and I hope we get some rain, but I hope it doesn't come with a name either. So, jumping into today's models, we have here the European Legacy, and if we've got this out 7 days, a couple little circles here, less than 10% that would have any type of concern with that secondary wave. As you can see, if Lorenzo can perform and stay alive and stay intact, it is looking like it could complete a total loop, which would be, that'd be something to add to your 2025 hurricane season bingo card. Running this out 10 days now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%, folks. 10, maybe 12% here. So again, it's something that we're going to be keeping a watch on. Nothing to be overly concerned, and we've still got plenty of time to monitor it. Comparing the euro with the GEFS, as we could see, there are a couple here as well. We will roll this forward to the 10-day. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 3 is a 21% chance. Give it 22 because it's not totally 33 members. But we're looking at a minimal chance. Again, something to keep monitoring, nothing to be concerned about. Comparing the GEFS with the Euro AI, we don't see hardly anything at all in day 7, and then by the time we push it out here to day 10, there's a couple little circles here, but it's stretched across the entirety of the Caribbean. It really doesn't give much credence to it. Maybe down here off the coast of the northern shore of Panama, maybe a little something between Panama and Jamaica, but again, there is no real strong signal to that whatsoever. Plenty of time going forward to keep an eye on it. Now, comparing those with the Google DeepMind, we will run this out. As you can see, there is one of these ensemble members that is just completely tripping. Uh, and I've got to say it that way because it is this thing right here. Look at that track, folks. It's completely lost its ever loving mind. It's going to swirl around back and forth, put a little Z on it at the end, hey, whatever. It's Lorenzo with a Z. But if we look at our models and roll this forward, we've got a couple little dots. Here we're out 10 days by this point. The Google DeepMind is strictly probability, so you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18% at that point. Again, something to monitor, nothing to be overly concerned about, and especially with what we saw yesterday compared to what we see today with the signal. If that trend continues, by the time that we get like 2 days out, this wave won't even exist. So again, we're going to have to watch how things ebb and flow. If we go back to the GFS, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You've got this little blue line here. I mean, you could call it 8, 31 members within the GEFS. And you could equate to them to each about a 3% probability there, and that's for Joker there on YouTube. If we take a look at our deterministic runs, now here we have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. This is representative of areas of spin or vorticity at the 850 millibar level, which is approximately 5,000 feet above sea level. We're looking for where these, especially where this secondary wave is rolling through, and maybe potentially a Central American gyre. As you can see, we are out 5 days at this point in time on our deterministic runs. And we've got our wave right here. No real energy or organization to it. The Euro is trying to focus a little bit of energy on it, but it's not really a lot. And then both areas and both models agree out here into portions of the Eastern Pacific for anything that may be Central American gyre related. GFS and Euro and 154. Okay, well, we are on the deterministic runs. And let's see here. Let's see what we got at 154, since that's not a selection. But we'll go 156. Here's your ensembles. 156. There's not much. If you want to compare them to the deterministic, here's your 156. Not much. Again, the signal is not really, there's a very, very low signal to this. As we run it forward, the GFS, when we finally get it into the Caribbean, it's so close to the ABC islands down there by Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao that it's going to struggle with land interaction to get itself organized in any short term. And then by the time that we get it out to day 10, which is way out into the models at this point in time, we do see the potential development here of something on the GFS into the Central Caribbean, though we have an area here into the Southwestern Caribbean that does have a little bit more focus on that, but it's still a very broad area of rotation and is not indicative of anything imminently tropical cyclone at that point. All right. Anyway, if we take a look at the Euro and the GFS humidity, on the left we have the Euro, on the right we have the GFS. Top two graphics are the 500 millibar level. That is representative of approximately 18,000 feet above sea level. If we take a look at the bottom two graphics, that is representative of the 700 millibar level. That is representative of approximately 10,000 feet above sea level. So we're looking for the moisture and the dry air within that area of the atmosphere. That's been kind of the killer of a lot of these waves and systems all throughout the season. So if we run this forward, we can see Lorenzo being impacted by quite a bit of dry air. The Euro is like, hey, by day 4, your mid-level moisture and low-level moisture is pretty much done for. The GFS wants to say, hey, it may hang around a little bit, but it's unlikely. The moisture kind of gets strung out on it, and if it can keep a little pocket there, maybe, but it's not really much of a concern. If we run this forward now, here is where day 7, we already know that our pocket of tropical moisture, let's get back to day 7, let's get our crayon out here. Our pocket of tropical moisture is located right here. This is wave number 2 that we have been discussing. And it's a little bit further south on the GFS. And that gets kind of impacted by land interactions and really doesn't allow the GFS to do much at all. Now, as we run this forward, we will note that the Euro still wanted to kind of keep a little bit of focus on it, but didn't really have anything tropical in nature at that point in time. It was still a very broad area of rotation. And as we could see here out on day 10, there is a little bit of a moisture column that would be associated with it. A considerable amount of dry air here over portions of the Gulf and southwestern Atlantic. So even if anything were to try to develop in this region and pull northward, it would have to deal with some extraordinarily dry air in those mid-levels of the atmosphere. If we look at it on the GFS, now we saw with the GFS it wanted to kind of develop something and pause it right here. Didn't really want to move it very far, kind of looked like it was just going to sit there. And again, it's got a considerable amount of dry air to its north. Not what we're looking at on the Euro, but it's still there nonetheless. And a frontal boundary will be present, so that should, going out this far, that should help to kind of keep it maintained a little bit down there. But unfortunately, when you get a developed system in the Caribbean and or the Gulf, it's almost guaranteed that landfall somewhere, impact somewhere, is imminent. It's very rare do you see one system develop and then hit nothing and then fall apart before it were able to hit anything. So it's just, again, something to keep an eye on. Plenty of time, nothing to be concerned about. The models are going to change tomorrow. They will. The 18Z run of the GFS is going to be different than the 12Z run, and then the 0Z run will be different from... There's not really much skill going out that far, but again, if things start to line up, and then you can say, hey, okay, this may be something we need to watch right here. So now we are going to look at our wind shear models. We've got the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right again. These two graphics are depictant of our wind shear between the 200 and 850 millibar level. So we're looking at the winds between about 5,000 feet all the way up to 40,000 feet, and how that is going to exist and interact over the basin. If we were to run this forward, we will know that our wave takes approximately 7 days to get over towards anywhere towards the islands. So here we are, we're approaching that day 7, but look just to the north of it. There is a considerable amount of shear and even well off to the left of it. Now, both models are agreeing with this increased shear, and that is going to potentially hamper development as it is moving through. This is why we don't see too much on the ensemble signal, and we also don't see too much on the deterministic signal. So now if we run this forward, you'll see there with the GFS a little bit of the change in shear, maybe a little bit of a trough kind of working up, and then it finally gets itself going. Where the Euro is concerned, there's not really a lot, but the question becomes, when it gets out here into the Western Caribbean, there is some reduced shear values here, as we could see even if we run it consistently all the way through. We don't have a lot of shear out here into the Western Caribbean. Every now and then we get a little burst, and then it goes, kind of empty and quiet there for a while. Then we get a little bit of a burst, and then it's expected to go empty and quiet there again for a little while. So it's just something to monitor. Nothing to be overly concerned about. We haven't had any quote-unquote seeds to be in that region to take advantage of the good conditions, and the extra fuel that is out there with the water temperatures. So if you don't have a storm, or something to get a storm kicked off with, you're not really going to get anything. And if everything fails to line up all together, you won't have anything at all, at least tropically in nature. Now, at least for some good news, as far as the basin is concerned, by the time that were to get all the way across the basin and reach over into the Caribbean, to get over into potentially the Central and Western Caribbean, the Madden-Julian oscillation is forecast to slip off out of our basin and into more phase 2, phase 3, in and around the Indian Ocean. So, this point, we will have hopefully a little bit more of a suppressive phase that is kind of impinging on the Atlantic basin. That is kind of what I'm looking at. If we go back here and look at the GEFS, let's see, can we get any of the previous models? No. Okay, give me 1 second here. So we're going to pull up the Euro charts. And as we can see here, for the folks that have been watching here for a while, you'll know exactly how to read this. This suppressive phase right here, moving in over our portion of the basin. Now, there is a small signal here that could be associated with a little bit of maybe a Kelvin wave or something like that. But the overall MJO is now forecast to kind of slip off in to this region right here of the world. So we are looking at, the potential for development out here, getting into the Indian Ocean. So if we go and then roll back to DeepMind, here we are out day 10. Look, there's signals all over the place. So once we get that enhanced phase, that is, going to allow for a lot of upper level divergence. It's going to allow for a lot of convection, a lot of thunderstorm activity to occur. That has got that the air and the exhaust from that has got to go somewhere. And if we may be able to kind of tamp things down, it's possible. Not saying for certain, but it is possible that we see these trends in the models maybe go down a little bit in response to a little bit more of a hostile upper level environment. Certainly not sold on that. And if you look here, the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook tomorrow, we will get an update on this, and we will then see what the global tropic or the climate prediction center has got for us going out through the entirety of the end of the month. We're still monitoring out here. We did not see anything for up to now. We're getting towards the 15th. We don't really see much there as far as development. It is more favoring the Eastern Pacific side. That's where we currently have a little bit of, we've got an outlook on it. And if we look into week 3, it is a little bit less, but the signal still remains. So again, folks, hurricane season's not over with, but it is nothing to get overly concerned with yet. Right now, it being so far out into the models, it's going to change. It's going to change in the very next run. And that's just kind of the nature of it. All right, jumping out into the Eastern Pacific, we don't really have much out here other than our little spot highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. It is currently has a 0% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. It's just something to watch. If this does develop, the chances of seeing potential impacts into southern Mexico would be probable. I wouldn't want to use the word likely, but if it does get developed, depending on where it's at, it is likely to have at least some type of impact. We've pushed the Euro legacy here out 10 days. We don't have a lot on this, but we could end up with some significant issues there. If we look at the GEFS, we got this out, we'll push it out 10 days. Again, maybe a little something that we've got to keep an eye on for the folks there in southern Mexico. But right now, only a 40% chance. And the Euro AI, again, not really looking at anything intense. If it develops anytime soon, it would likely have some kind of impact, whether it be direct or peripheral there on the southern portions of Mexico. Jumping out to the western Pacific, we have Tropical Storm Nakri out here. It is currently moving very quickly off to the east-northeast, and it is finally reduced itself below typhoon strength. We did have Old Hai Long just absolutely stomped western Alaska over the last couple days, and 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts, big-time surge events. It turned into an extratropical, non-tropical low pressure, but was still bringing a lot of that energy from the tropics and really, really hit Alaska hard. And 96W, this is forecast to head towards the Philippines. So folks there in the Philippines would be recommended to keep a very close watch on this. We'll have to kind of wait and see exactly what that one's going to do. It's a little iffy right now, but some type of organization is definitely anticipated. All right, everybody. That is all that I have got here for everyone tonight. I am going to go ahead and sign off here. I will be back live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, here on Facebook and YouTube with the latest. We'll go over the models then. It's going to be different. I can almost say it's certainly going to be different. So, have a wonderful evening, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Good night.